Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Everything is Bad New Fangled Motion Picture Show.
Welcome, one and all, to another episode of the Newfangled Motion Picture Show. I'm your host, Niall.
And I'm Nolan.
And today we're going to be reviewing The New Mutants. Is the final? This is the final thing in the Fox X-Men universe, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this was supposed to come out a couple years ago, right?
Yes. I believe its original release date was in 2018. Yeah, so it's, this movie is directed by a guy who has directed 2 other movies and some television. So, not sure that's who I would have picked to direct,
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly a low-budget film.
Yeah, it has 6 people in it. I guess 7.
Well, I mean, I cast 1, 2, 3. There's like 16 total.
Yeah, well, and most of those extras are in the first
Also,
few minutes.
one is a wolf and one is just a voice.
Yeah.
There's like 16 roles.
Yeah, not even Marilyn Manson could save this movie. So before we get too into it, though, I just want to let you know, we're going to do a spoiler-free review, and then we'll give you a spoiler warning, and we'll go more in-depth into it after that. But yeah, so if you don't know, New Mutants was, so it's set in the Fox X-Men canon. So the same universe as, all those X-Men movies and, First Class and all that.
Yeah.
Even the bad ones.
It was billed as a horror movie, though.
Yeah.
That's what the studio was calling it.
And that's what IMDb calls it.
Yeah. That's generous.
Yeah. So
I think the thing that this sums up this movie is a lot of lost potential.
Yeah, I mean, there was some cool stuff that was in there that was like, oh, that's a neat idea. I wish they would have done more with that.
Yeah, there's some stuff that they expanded on it. It could have actually been a decent horror movie, but it doesn't take anything far enough. And I don't want to get into spoilers here. We'll get into that later. But yeah, I think there's just a lot of lost potential with this movie. It winds up the movie is just kind of meh.
Nothing ever felt super threatening until the last big fight at the end. And that was just your standard end of a superhero movie big fight thing.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff in there that if they had taken it further, it could have been a pretty good movie, even a pretty good horror movie, but it just wasn't ever taken. They never took that step. And there's some plot holes in there where you're just like, why is this their thought process, or why aren't they doing this, or whatever?
Yeah, and these kids. So if you don't know, I mean, in the trailers it was all shown. Basically, yeah, these these 5 teenage mutants are in this hospital, old style hospital, and under observation for their powers, and they can't leave. They're trapped. They're imprisoned there, basically. And yeah, so that, I think that's as far as the trailers really get into as to what's going on. I thought it was I liked how they tied it into the rest of the X-Men movies. And it was a thing where everyone in the movie, they know of the X-Men. The X-Men are famous, and particularly to mutants. But
they talk about
and they talk about them, so like they acknowledge that the X-Men exist and everything, but the X-Men are not in any way involved.
No. Yeah, if you're familiar with the comics, you probably recognize the characters. I mean, the New Mutants comics. I mean, let's see. One of the characters, once I realized who it was, like, oh, okay. Because they're in, like, regular X-Men comics now, not, like, just New Mutants.
Right.
So I realized who that character was, but then everyone else didn't really know. They're not, like, big name characters unless you read the New Mutants, and I've never really read the New Mutants. So I can't really say that, like, even if you're a big fan of the New Mutants, that this is a movie for you. Like, it's just kind of a meh movie. It drops the ball in a lot of places. There's some cool ideas that just don't get fully fleshed out enough, and it just
there's some CG that's kind of rough in spots too.
Yeah.
And there's like Nolan was saying, there's definitely some thoughts or some spots where you're like, why didn't these kids just do this thing instead? Like, it's pretty obvious that they could have just done that thing long time ago. You know, we wouldn't be in this mess type of stuff. But
overall, I can't really recommend the movie.
No.
Maybe if you're a diehard New Mutants fan, but I think this movie deviates from,
or just like way into the X-Men cinematic universe.
Yeah.
It's kind of a shame that the final movies in the X-Men cinematic universe are, Dark Phoenix and this.
Both movies that suffer from just lost potential.
Yeah.
They could have done so much more with both of these movies, and they didn't.
We won't get into Lost Phoenix in this because we did a review on that.
Right.
You can watch that.
I mean, some people might be like, "Oh, well, this is obviously meant to be a low budget movie." It's like they didn't need more budget to fix this movie.
No.
They needed a script rewrite.
I mean, like I said, there was some stuff in there where the CG was rough, but could easily be forgiven if the rest of the movie is worth watching.
Yeah, it really needs a script rewrite more than anything.
Yeah.
But so I think it's about our review of it. Throw up a spoiler warning.
Yep.
All right. So the one character that I did recognize is Ilyana Rasputin, codename Magic with a K. And she's the younger sister of Colossus.
Although that's not brought up in the movie.
That's not brought up in the movie at all. But yeah, so one of there's several things in here just like this doesn't make sense. Like, these kids aren't questioning things enough. Like, they don't or maybe I don't know, they've already questioned it, and so when the new character arrives, they're done questioning. But there's this massive campus. There's only 5 of them, and 1 doctor is the only staff.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, my thing was, something that they could have done is, if they'd just, like, attacked her, I don't think that she could have stopped them if they were just, like, in one of their little, talk sessions, and the 4 who have, like, regular sort of mutations, not this chick with her wild, uncontrollable psychic stuff.
Yeah,
but like, I think if the 4 of them just jumped her, I think they could have easily killed her, taken her out.
Yeah, so our main protagonist, Danny Moonstar, her power is that she can't control her mutant ability, but it makes things that people fear most come to life.
Yeah, so
So which is, a perfect setup for a horror movie.
Right. And Ilyana Rasputin, she was apparently like sex trafficked as a little girl in Russia, and the things that come out of her head are like perfect horror movie monsters.
Right. So they are these like faceless monster things, but we have a theory that what they are is when she was like 6 or something, because that's how she looked really young. That's when these, guys came in to, assault her.
Yeah, so
that's just the image that like her mind created of them.
right. And I think it's
they look like the
reinforced.
Slender Man almost.
Right. They're like these tall, skinny things, and they wore these masks with the smiley face on them. And so like in her, like the monsters that come out of her mind, they're wearing these like silk shirts, like real sleazy looking, and have all these like Russian mob style tattoos on them. And they're really tall, which would make sense for the memories that a very young girl has of these things being really big, because at that age everyone's going to tower over her, and I think that's reinforced by Maisie Williams' character, Rain Sinclair.
Yeah,
I think
she's like a werewolf.
Yeah, she turns into a wolf as her mutant ability, but I think it's backed up by what she sees, because her thing is she was
attacked by her priest.
Yeah,
who branded her
with a W for witch, presumably.
Witch, or probably witch. Could be werewolf, but probably witch.
Yeah, like she has the whole thing of like she mentions that he called her a witch and attacked her or something.
Yeah.
And so, because when she developed this mutant power, she went to her priest because she didn't know what was going on. So yeah, that's the thing she fears most. So when she has her, it's not a really hallucination, because these things like cause physical harm.
He's physically manifest in the real world.
Right. He's also really big, and I know Maisie Williams isn't tall. She's pretty short, but I mean, this dude's head is like near the ceiling.
Yeah.
So I think that's the case is like it's just sort of what their memories have made of these people.
Yeah, like how they appear in their nightmares.
Yeah,
basically. Because it always seems to happen like when they're asleep or well, it happens when Danny is asleep most of the time, and then often the other person is asleep, but not always.
Well, I mean, Maisie Williams was attacked in the shower, and then
yeah, I guess it doesn't really happen.
Yeah, Ilyana,
it's only when she's asleep.
It happened to Ilyana like once while she was asleep, I think. But the ones that like get out and are chasing through the place, those they hear the singing, and she's like, I know that song, and they go to her room and open the door, and things come out at them.
Yeah. So anyway, where this movie kind of drops the balls, I don't think they explored this manifestation of their nightmares enough.
Yeah.
They could have spent a lot more time on that, drawn that out, but also at no point did I ever fear for the lives of any of the characters, because I just like didn't expect any of them to die. So if they're like, we don't want to kill off any of these named characters, they should have created more just characters that were original to this movie and killed them.
Yes.
To give the impression that at some point, someone could die.
Yeah, and they could have done more to like make the manifestations like creepy, sort of, because all it really is the faceless monsters from Ilyana's thing manifest, and now there's these monsters we have to fight, and they're creepy looking.
Yeah, but they're the only ones that show up in any like serious number.
Yeah, and then like they could have done more with like making the priest creepy, or making the whole interaction with the priest showing up creepy, because it's just that, like, Rain Sinclair turns around and the priest guy like rounds the corner with a hot brand.
Yeah, it's just like that's one of the major complaints I have with the movies. It just didn't take that horror aspect far enough.
And if they were, and if their intent wasn't to like make it like really go, lean into the horror thing, they shouldn't have ever brought it up.
Yeah. And it was a great setting for a horror movie. It's this old, like, rundown asylum-looking place. It's a creepy location.
Yeah. Like, somewhere in Massachusetts, I think, is where it said they filmed it.
Yeah.
But
Miskatonic University or something.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like an old boarding school or something from the outside. Or like an old, like, Catholic school.
Yeah.
From the outside. And it's... it's like Nolan said, it's a cool setting, but that leads me to, maybe these kids should have been asking more questions.
Like, why is there only this one adult here?
Yeah, so why is there only one adult? A. B, so, yeah, I mean, it's just...
Basically, she's grooming them to send them off to the Essex facility from Logan.
Right.
And they use footage from Logan, to show that facility.
Right. Moonstar, Danny Moonstar, like, gets visions of this during one of the sessions where she's being tested on or whatever. But it's so, they're having this, one of their, like, discussion sessions, because, the whole thing is presented like, oh, this is therapy for you to control your your mutations
once you
or
gain
whatever.
once you gain control of your mutations, you'll be sent on, and they keep hinting that they'll be sent on to join the X-Men.
Yeah. So
which as an audience member, you already know is obviously BS.
Right. So one of the guys, Sam, right? The what's his nickname? Arkansas or
I mean he was.
Or I mean, but like one of the
and it was like
Roberto kept calling him like Arkansas or something.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Really notice.
But anyway, so
he's a character Cannonball. I think is his character once he's finally in the comic books.
So when his powers manifested, he was working in the mines with his dad in the coal mines, loading 13 tons and all that. And his powers manifested, and he accidentally killed his father and the rest of his father's crew, I think.
Yeah.
And so, he's really going through some guilt stuff with that. And he this chick, what's her name? The doctor?
Dr. Rain?
Dr. Rain?
No. Dr. Reyes?
Dr. Reyes.
Dr. Reyes.
Yeah, Dr. Reyes. Reyes.
I think it's Reyes because she's
Right, but I heard it pronounced both ways in the movie.
Okay, well, I don't know about the character, but the actress is Brazilian, and she was definitely supposed to be like Hispanic.
Yeah, she had an accent the whole time, so. But anyway, they're like, "Oh, why do we even want to go on to your superiors? What if I just want to leave?" And she's like, Dr. Reyes says like, "Oh, and do what? The cops were gonna catch you, and if you leave, they'll just chase you down or whatever." I'm like, wait a minute. So the cops don't know he's here? The officials, like authorities, don't know that we're here?
Right. So if anything happens, who's gonna show up?
Right. So like that should have really
They can't leave because the doctor she's a psychic, and she has created this field, this dome over the whole facility that they can't pass through. So that's that's what's actually keeping them there.
The other thing that these characters should have been questioning is like, why is this facility not maintained? Why is everything filthy? Why is
Why is it so run down?
Why is it so run down? Why are the two guys always doing KP?
Well, obviously because the three girls cook dinner.
I mean,
that's the only answer I have. But like every time they need to show a scene where these two guys are like having like some conversation, they're doing KP or they're doing the laundry.
Yeah. Well, I think the laundry was only the one time.
Yeah, they only did the laundry the one time, but they're doing KP most of the time.
Yeah, and so they're cooking dinner for 6 people, and it's it's like, oh, washing this like 6-gallon soup pot.
Well, like I said, when they show the facility, it's a big campus, right? So I mean, if this kitchen is equipped for feeding hundreds of people at a time, then yeah, they're gonna have these massive soup pots and stuff.
I mean, I guess, but where the hell is Essex in all this? I mean, this is an official Essex facility. She has like computers there.
Yeah, if you're supposed to like trick these people into believing that they are just there temporarily until they get control of their powers and then be sent on to, work with the X-Men or whatever, you'd think they would, do something to improve this illusion.
Like more than one staff, a groundskeeper, a custodian, something like that.
Right.
Something. I mean, like the clock tower isn't working. That felt just like wherever they filmed this, the clock tower actually wasn't working.
Yeah.
And they're just not gonna bother for this movie. Fixing that. But yeah, I mean this movie's got some issues.
The other thing,
and there's some real like superhero movie cheesiness in this movie in some spots too.
One thing that bothered me is right from the get-go, Ileana was just aggressive towards Danny, like for no reason.
Yeah,
like she shows up and she just like hates her for.
I mean,
out of nowhere.
She clearly doesn't have any like interest in the boys or anything. So I don't know. Like she shouldn't see her as like a threat or anything like that. Yeah, it's just instant hatred towards this new girl with zero justification for it.
Yeah, it was kind of annoying.
Yeah, it really was.
And maybe their intent was that, oh well, when she helps at the end, that's character growth. I'm like, not really, because it didn't feel like character growth, because they're in a situation like, yeah, you're gonna put your distaste for another person aside to get out of this situation. I mean, come on.
Giant demon bear.
You may be a bitch, but you're not a monster.
Yeah.
Right?
You may be a bitch, but you're not suicidal.
Right, that too. You had an idea for something that could have helped save the movie, though.
Oh yeah,
an after credits scene.
Yeah, so there wasn't a post credits scene, which we stay through the credits of every movie we go to see. Usually we're the only ones left sitting there at the end.
We're not sitting there hoping for a post credit scene,
right?
Anything.
We just
do it.
We just do it. A lot of people worked on these movies. Someone has to sit there and make fun of their names, so we do that. But us and all other like 8 other people that were in our movie theater sat through the credits. There's no post credit scene. But what I mentioned on the way out of the theater that I think would have been a funny thing that could have saved the movie is after the post credit scene and like the buildings are all destroyed by the demon bear, like the chapel's all splinters and rubble, and the group like walks out down the road.
The demon bear, by the way, is Danny's worst nightmare.
Right.
Could manifest.
And so they walk out the front gate and like walk down the road at the end of the movie. So if after the way it could have been saved is if the post credits scene is a vehicle pulls up and Domino and Deadpool get out, and Deadpool's telling Domino like, "No, I'm telling you, it's an Essex facility. These are real bad dudes. They keep kids here. They're real bad news. We gotta save them from this." And he like turns and sees the like destroyed buildings or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the post battles of this facility. I think that would have been pretty great.
Yeah, that would have been pretty good. But yeah, I mean, like I said, this movie had some potential if they could have taken some of these. There were some good ideas there, and they just didn't take them far enough.
Yeah, they either needed to lean more into the horror movie aspect or stop treating it that way entirely.
Well, according to the director, his the movies that were inspirations were One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
That's pretty obvious.
That's pretty obvious. And Friday the 13th, the Dream Warriors.
Really?
I forget which particular one that was, like, in the sequence, but yeah, that's the one where the kids are all, like, in the institution and having to fight off Freddy Krueger. Did I see Friday the 13th?
Yes, you did.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah. It's been a long day. Nightmare on Elm Street. Jeez.
Anyway, but they I leaned over at one point during the movie. I was like, man, this movie would have been better if they would have just remade One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but with mutants.
Yeah, and I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
I was about to like reference that doctor as Nurse Ratched.
Nurse Ratched, yeah. I mean, that would have been an infinitely better movie.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think people would have probably been like, it's just a rehash of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, but, you know, and this Josh Boone, is that the director? Yeah. This Josh Boone guy could have just been like, yeah, but it was good, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if you're gonna go for like a moody, specific kind of genre like that, you need to really go for it. You can't half-ass it, because everyone's gonna know. Right?
Right.
But, yeah. I don't think I really have anything else to say about this movie.
Nah.
So next movie we're gonna review is Bill and Ted 3.
Bill and Ted Face the Music.
Hell yeah. That's super exciting, right?
It is.
I need to rewatch the second one, because I really just don't remember it much at all. It's probably been like over 10 years since I've seen it. What's after that? Oh, yeah, Tenet is after that. Yeah. Get excited for that. That's going to be the first, like, big deal, exciting movie since theaters reopened, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, we got Tenet. That's next week. And then after that, we got Wonder Woman and Death on the Nile in October. So there should be, well, I like the time period that Death on the Nile is set in. You know, not a lot of people went and saw Murder on the Orient
Express.
Yeah, so I frankly,
if you're curious about, we reviewed.
Yeah. I mean, it's a movie that's been remade.
I don't know.
Tons of times.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of, I mean, it seems like every generation or less has a whole new set of the Poirot Agatha Christie books made into
the BBC made
movies.
Like all of them into a whole series, and apparently like that is the like definitive version of Poirot. It's like the most accurate.
Yeah.
But to all the stories.
I mean, we're still gonna see Death on the Nile. 2 reasons. 1, we liked Murder on the Orient Express. Or 3 reasons really. 2, like I said, I like the time period for the setting. I don't think there's enough set in that time period, enough movie set in that time period.
Mm-hmm.
Third thing though is there's nothing else that weekend, so you know,
yeah,
we're gonna go see it. But anyway, so that's what we got coming up. Movie theaters are back open. If you're in a place with movie theaters open, please go to the movies. I don't know what your feelings are on the virus virus. But man, they are pumping so much disinfectant all over the seats at the theaters, at least around here. And the place just reeks of this stuff when you walk in. They're just like drenching everything in this. They say it's a fast drying disinfectant.
Well, I haven't sat in a soggy seat
virus
yet, so.
No, yeah, I haven't either. But I watched them come in with like the pressurized backpack and wand last week when we were in the theater. But yeah, they're like wiping everything down, and everything's contactless. Like if you purchase your tickets through Fandango or through the app for whatever, Regal or AMC or wherever you're going, you just hold it up to them. You don't have to touch anyone. If you're not buying concessions, you like at no point even have to touch anything being touched by someone else. Honestly, it's probably one of the safer things you can do outside of your own home right now. At least around here. They say they're doing these things all over the place. So we can only assume that these theater chains are doing it elsewhere, but they're definitely doing it around here. So if you can, please go see a movie. Don't, I know that some people are like, well, I don't want to go see a movie till... I don't want to go to the theater till the big name, those big name movies back in theater, and the studios are like, well, I'm not gonna release this movie in theater if no one's gonna go see it. So, yeah, it's gotta give somewhere. So please, just go watch Tenet.
In fact, I actually kind of recommend Unhinged.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, go check out our review of that.
Better than the New Mutants.
The New Mutants?
Yeah. My tongue was like
New Mutants.
New Mutants.
But yeah, so go see movies in theater. Please do that. And until next time, thanks for watching.
Bye.
Toodles.
Thank you.